Nico Harrison has broken his silence on the Luka Doncic trade that happened on February 1st. For the first time since the day after the trade, he has made public comments, and we will get into those public comments here on Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Before we get into the show, please be sure to hit that sub button as well. We will be going live for tomorrow's game against the Sacramento Kings, so stay locked in and hit that sub button. But today, it's all about Nico. To start off, no cameras or audio recording were allowed in the media session. That was by invite only. Not all Dallas media was allowed to attend. Only those deemed Tier 1 journalists were allowed to attend this media briefing. To start off, that is extremely soft, and that is the mark of someone who is scared to stand by his decision and by his choice to destroy the entire Dallas Mavericks franchise. So we don't have any audio recording or video to go off of, only what other people have said. So that is what the majority of this show is going to consist of. I want to ask you guys, though, before we get into what Nico actually had to say, do you want Nico Harrison fired? Type F for fire or type K for keep? I think you know my answer to this one. It's pretty simple, but let me know what you guys think down below. We'll start off with this. Tim McMahon, who, by the way, does an incredible job covering the Mavericks. You can say what you will about him and his propensity to spark conflict and whatnot, but he does do a great job covering the Mavericks. Tim McMahon says defense wins championships was the most used phrase. I also heard that phrase was uttered no less than 6 or 7 times throughout the hour-long media session, and it felt like any response to a question asking about why the trade happened and why this and why that, Nico's response was to any question that he just didn't want to answer was defense wins championships. I just think it's interesting that they're still trying to parrot this, and the fact that they still believe that this is the reason why they made the trade is an absolute joke, because everyone knows that this is not the reason why they made the trade. The reason why they made the trade was because someone went on a power trip and decided he wanted to be in charge and not the superstar player. You want to know what's funny is they think AD wins championships? I think this is hilarious. In the time that Luka was on the court this season for the Mavericks, they had a better defensive rating than the 9 games that Anthony Davis played. So they were a better defensive team per 100 possessions with Luka on the court as opposed to Anthony Davis. But hey, defense wins championships though, so it's all good. Why did the trade happen was a question that was frequently asked. And like I said, any question about asking why the trade happened, he just responded with defense wins championships. It was nothing about anything that happened off the court. It was nothing about the tension within the franchise, and that was talked about. We may have to get to that on another show because there's so much material out of this that we couldn't break it all down here. But basically, there was no new messaging from Nico. Instead, they put together a secret media availability with only Tier 1 journalists and no cameras or audio that were allowed in the building. It was an incredibly soft move, and it only makes the Mavericks look worse. And every single time I think they can't make themselves look worse, they find a new way. And it's almost impressive at this point, the commitment to trying to make themselves look as bad as humanly possible. This was a question I thought that was a very interesting question asked and a very interesting answer. The question was, and I'm paraphrasing here, was Nico aware of the culture that Dirk built throughout his 21 seasons in Dallas and throughout the 21 years, the relationship that he built with the Mavericks fan base alongside Mark Cuban, alongside Donnie Nelson, who built a culture of loyalty to a fault almost. And Nico really didn't respond because he said he had no prior impression of the organization, but he's lived through it every day, so he knows what the organization is now. Nico Harrison has no fucking idea what this organization stands for and what its values are. He is an absolute joke. He is not fit to run this franchise, even though he says he still is. And he, by the way, says that he's going to run this franchise throughout the duration of his contract, which is 3 more seasons. I would be absolutely shocked if that were the case. And I just don't believe that he knows what he's doing with this basketball team. And I don't believe he is acting in the best interest of this basketball team. We will get to more about what fraudulent Nico Harrison said here in just a few moments, but I do need to tell you guys about our sponsor, which of course is GameTime, the best place to get tickets out on the internet right now. Today's show is sponsored by GameTime, and one thing I really like about GameTime is their all-in pricing option. Toggling the feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. The NHL playoffs are about to get going. The Dallas Stars going to hopefully make a deep run, although they've been absolutely struggling lately. But you can get your tickets with our friends over at GameTime. They offer the GameTime guarantee as well. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. So please make sure to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app and create an account. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS, all caps, for $20 off. Go see the stars. Go see some NBA playoff games. Go see Cowboys preseason. Go do all of it with our friends at GameTime. Again, download the app, create an account, and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. No regrets, according to Nico Harrison. He said there are no regrets on the trade. Part of it is doing the best thing for the Mavericks. Thing is, it ain't the best thing for the Mavericks. Trading the second best player in the NBA who is 25 years old, who is absolutely in love with the organization and who the fan base love back, is absolutely not the best thing for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that much is clear. And Nico Harrison, by the way, wasn't the only person that spoke in today's media availability, we'll call it. I don't even want to call it an availability because it wasn't an availability. It was an event in which the tier one journalists like Tim McMahon, like Tim Cato, like Christian Clark of The Athletic, like Mike Curtis of the Dallas Morning News were allowed to attend. Mavs CEO Rick Welts also spoke. And by the way, this was an absolute joke. Here's what he had to say on the fans. He said, "We hear them. It's on us to win back their trust. The story is unfinished. We understand the pain." And then Rick Welts went on to say he compared the Luka Doncic trade to when the Warriors traded Monte Ellis. On Mavericks Today, we are huge fans of Monte Ellis. He had a great 2 seasons in Dallas, was one of the most fun players to watch during my time growing up as a fan of the Dallas Mavericks. Comparing Monte Ellis to Luka Doncic shows that you are the most out-of-touch, clueless front office in the history of sports. By the way, the Mavericks also raised season ticket price 8%, and they basically said it's to combat the estimated loss of millions of dollars so that they could try to recoup some of that. Here's the thing. No one's buying your fucking season tickets if you don't have a product worth watching. The Mavericks are going to be in the dormant of the NBA for years to come because of the actions of your general manager and of your CEO and of your governor who have zero idea what it means to run a basketball team. This is not Sands Corp where there is zero emotion involved and no one cares about the wins and losses here. This is a basketball team where people care about the product on the court. They care about the product off the court. They care about how they're treated. This is not some Fortune 500 corporation. This is a basketball team with real emotions and real heart and real lives at stake in the sports world goes. People are going to be emotional about this. You have to run this with the fan in mind. You cannot run this from a pure spreadsheet standpoint. You have to take emotion into account. And they absolutely did not do that. And here we are sitting right here on April 15th. I believe it's tax day. Make sure you get your taxes done, by the way. We sit here on April 15th with the Mavericks franchise. Not even a shell. They are completely destroyed from what they once were, I would say, just even a year ago. It's very sad what's going on. And this much is absolutely clear, by the way. Nico, I'll extend this to Rick Welts and to Patrick Dumont as well, have zero understanding of what culture or loyalty means. Luka was the culture. Dirk was the culture. Dirk was here for 21 seasons. Dirk had plenty of opportunities to leave the Mavericks in times where, frankly, if he did, nobody would have blamed him. When Dirk was offered the max by Houston and by the Los Angeles Lakers in, I believe, the summer of 2013, and he took almost like $100 million less to come stay in Dallas, nobody would have blamed him for taking the money and going and trying to get another ring. But Dirk stayed with us. Luka was going to stay with us. Oh, and by the way, Nico Harrison said there was no guarantee that Luka was going to sign the Supermax. Do you know how many times a player who is eligible to sign a Supermax has not signed said Supermax? Zero. Because they're offered $100 million less if they're on a different team. That's a lot of money. The Mavericks cost Luka a lot of money, and they cost themselves a whole bunch of money with this trade. The fans will never be brought back to this organization like it was pre-Luka trade. It just won't happen. They have done irreversible damage to this franchise that I don't think will ever be able to be repaired. I don't think a championship, if the Mavericks win a championship with this current iteration, will undo all of the damage that Nico Harrison, Rick Welts, and Patrick Dumont have done to this team. Rick Welts didn't even join the Mavericks until the calendar turned to 2025, and he is already partly responsible for one of the worst moves in the history of sports. It keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, and by the way, we haven't even scratched the surface of what Nico Harrison said in this media availability. Unfortunately, we do have a game to play tomorrow, sadly enough, so we probably won't. We may get to a video tomorrow before the game, but we will definitely cover everything that Nico Harrison had to say regarding the Luka Doncic trade, regarding people calling for his job, this and that. We will have all of that here on the channel, so please be sure to hit that subscribe button because we will cover it all. There's a lot of content that we're going to get to, and again, the Mavericks do play a basketball game tomorrow night, believe it or not. Also, what great timing by the Mavericks to decide to do this media availability the day before the biggest game of the season. Real smart move by Mavericks PR there, but that's neither here nor there. We'll be live tomorrow, probably around 8:45 p.m. Central Time for Mavericks vs. Kings. We'll be covering it all here, so hit that sub button, and we'll see you soon here on the channel.